So good morning, friends. It's Guy here. Just want to give you a bit of an update because I haven't posted in a few days. So the last couple of days have been quite difficult. I was actually in bed pretty much all day. Very, very, very tired. With this recovery process post-bypass operation, there's so much inner healing energy happening to repair and rejuvenate my heart, chest, lungs, vessels, everything. So most of my energy is dedicated to that in the bodily unconscious, and it has an effect on my outward capacity. So even standing up, moving around, it was very, very tiring. And what I've learned in this process is you become acutely aware of energy expenditure. Now, when you have the luxury of all the energy in the world, you don't necessarily notice or manage it so well. But when you only have a few drops a day, you become more sensitive and heightened in your awareness about how you're going to spend your energy. And I feel this is a good thing for us to remember anyway. Just to outline the teaching is that each and every day we have a certain amount of energy based on all sorts of things, food, exercise, stamina, history, vision. Energy comes from all sorts of different directions. But there's a certain limited supply each and every day. And it really is a bit like a bank account. It's what we spend, and also what we put back in to the bank account through our kind of exercises and good food and everything else. So if a bank account is a bit depleted, a bit empty, resources are low, then we have to be very conscious and careful and wise how we spend the energy. Fortunately, there is none or very little expectation of me at the moment. Not expected to work, being around my kids, but not really in any mode would I say I'm a full parenting mode at the moment. So there's no expectation, there's no pressure from that. So I have the time to just be with this recovery process. So that's how it's going for me. Careful, detailed expenditure of energy. Second thing I'd like to talk about is the psychology of recovery. And I'm beginning to notice and recognize this is a huge, huge part in the process. So you're in hospital in a certain rhythm and routine, surrounded by nurses and doctors and staff and caregivers, and they become your kind of temporary surrogate family for a couple of weeks. Just taking care of your needs, taking care of all the things necessary for your well-being in hospital. So you're surrounded. I'm back in the family, and I love my family. Family are fantastic, but they've also got their own lives. They're getting on doing their own things, and it's important they do. I don't want anyone to stop the world for me. So they are loving and feeding and nourishing as much as they can, also getting on with their lives. So I'm spending a large part of my days at home alone. Yeah. Now, I like my own company, and I'm comfortable in my own space. But then we have the added ingredients of pain, that is discomfort in the chest here, and that my sternum, although it's healing very well, the scabs are coming off the cuts now, which is great. There's like continuous pain here and here, and breathing is that uncomfortable because it was broken open, and apparently it's going to take 8 to 12 weeks to heal properly. Some people even say like a full year before it's properly healed. Yeah, I've got this kind of thing on underneath here, holding me together. I've got to wear this for 6 weeks. So there's physical discomfort. That's the first thing I want to point out. Just learning how to be with pain. I've got a low-level painkiller I take every so often, and that really helps just to be able to get through the day. But it's there as a constant. So when there's pain present, when you're alone, when there's nothing to do, when you're not working, when you're not following your mission or your roles, so basically there's none of the outside world happening that you were familiar with, then what? You're really left with yourself, in this kind of naked, present awareness of sensation in the moment. And I can understand how depression creeps in. So the way I look at depression is like the opposite of expression. when you're expressing, you're contributing, you're giving, you're sharing, your energy's moving from inside of you, outside of you. Depression is like pushed down, so there's nothing much moving out of you. So even though I'm doing these videos and writing a bit and doing a few things online, those are my moments of expression if I have energy for them. A large part of my day is in the zone of nothing and emptiness. And I would say this is probably the most challenging part. Pain is one thing. I can reflect upon pain. I could take a painkiller. I could sleep. But the psychology of this, what loops around in the thoughts, the emptiness, sometimes that is very, very difficult to be with, especially 3, 4, 5 in the morning when you can't sleep. So I'm just sharing that information for all people out there who are in post-recovery or suffering from depression, where everything that was in expression is no longer present. So I can understand that. So my remedy, if you like, is first of all to acknowledge this is what's the case. Yeah, my world has changed radically in the last few weeks, and I'm acclimatizing. And not to fill in, not to override this kind of raw signaling that's happening. So I'm very much practicing learning how to be with what is without judging it, without naming it, without giving a story to it. So something I find very useful is to notice pain just as a sensation, just as an experience, without putting too much of a story on it. Then you stay in real time, present time, and it comes and goes. Yeah. I just take a breath now. I think out there in the world, certainly in the world I'm in, sometimes there's a certain measure of expectation or performance. It's like you're doing all this spiritual work or healing work or emotional work. So there should be some kind of standard, if you like, of well-being that you should hold doing all that kind of work. And in any situation, if we standardize something, if we make it like you should be here, there's a should be. There's not a I am with, there's a should be. So you're putting pressure and stress in arriving into something. And it's really a performance. You're performing for someone else's expectation of your should be line. So I've dropped that. These videos also my way of exposing myself as I am, not as Superman guy, not I'm fine, not it's all great, but this is what is. And the conversation of what is and how can we be with this in reality, with authenticity, with naturalness, I feel is a much more interesting conversation, because it's not about the image self, the performance self, the look at me because I'm doing this self. If you talk about wasting of energy, there's a lot of wastage of energy in maintaining, sustaining this false image of self. So I'm an advocate for getting in touch with what's really happening. Yeah, what's really happening in our human experience. It's just simply called honesty, telling the truth about who you and how you are. So the truth of how it is for me is it's pretty lonely sometimes. Sometimes it's a bit depressing. Sometimes I feel very empty. Sometimes I'm complaining about all this pain and situation that's going on. Sometimes I feel frustrated. And sometimes I'm in a state of acceptance and blessing and gratitude, because I remind myself that 4 weeks ago I was in intense pain here, which led to what they said to me was a minor heart attack. And the inevitable consequence of leaving that untreated would have been a major heart attack, probably, and death. So I remind myself, regardless of what's happening in this present moment, to remember how I took myself into the operation, into the situation, into what I'm currently feeling. And that gives me a vision of gratitude, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's painful, even though it's going to take a long time and I need some kind of stamina and endurance to go through this. I'm still grateful fundamentally because I have my life. I have my life. And I also have time to recuperate. thanks to a lot of your support. Please keep it coming if you want to. I'll put a link to the GoFundMe page because I am stuck in my home. I haven't left the house for a week now. I have no idea what's going on over there. There's little snippets on, social media. But actually, my world is very small right now. It's about 1 meter radius. And that's quite interesting because my world has often been about the community, the tribe, other people, global situations. And it's really brought me back to this experience of Guy. Yeah. I feel like we're getting to know each other again. Awareness and Guy and awareness, and just coming back into a state of presence. Because I realize, although I may appear the same, I am different. Something radically has changed inside of me. And I'm allowing myself to be with that change as it opens without needing to know where it's leading to. So, I can see, and maybe you relate to this, how we construct a reality for ourselves and we give it meaning and significance and we give it a vision and we say, I am a coach, I am a dancer, I'm a healer, I'm a this, I'm a that. So we create a heroic storyline for ourselves about who we are in the context of our visionary chosen reality. And that's pretty much called life. Your life is your life and you can choose to vision it, act in it, and explore it whichever way you want. Free will to create the life that you love. The issue I see in this is that when we start to tell ourselves that my reality is the reality and you should come along with me, or it's a reference point in which you judge other people from, or it's a position that you hold to in such a fixed way that there's no longer any flexibility to transform, open. Now, in my situation, if this was a house of cards, they've all been fallen down. They've been blown down. Yeah, my reality has collapsed the way that I knew it to be. I'm not DJing 3 days a week. Currently I'm not running my school. I'm not doing groups. I'm not doing coaching. I'm not doing anything with my work. I'm just sharing stuff, which is enjoyable for me and a way of expressing and moving the life force. So the house of cards has fallen down, and I feel this is a big test for anyone, especially men, who often thrive on status and symbol and being something in the world. Similar thing happened when COVID struck, if you like. People losing their jobs and identities and all their self-referencing to your job. I exist because of that. I define myself because of that. So I'm in a state of Buddhism, life compulsory Buddhism, to reflect on the emptiness, the desirelessness, the antithesis of vision, which is so interesting because I've lived my life all the while in the pursuit of self-expression, arriving into a better, healthier state of being, contributing, service, all these things. And I can also see the story narrative in that, the heroic story narrative of, this, like, I'm great, I'm doing my stuff, see me for this. And actually this is cut away, all of it's cut away. It's cut away. I've been pruned right down to the roots, and can start again. So I can really feel that sense of like, okay, there's no expectation on me now. I'm not doing the work that I used to do. I'm currently going through a healing process, which is going to take another couple of months. So I've got some time. And I could reform my reality the way I want to, the way I choose to. And so in a very gentle way, I'm in the process of beginning, how can I come into a new state of self-expression, which is absolutely, unconditionally authentic to me, Guy. So it's not about anyone else. It's not about an ideal of service or giving. It's not about religious aspiration. It's absolutely about, who am I, Guy? What do I feel? What do I want? How do I choose to live? And I don't think I've ever really been in this position in my life. I know it seems silly because it's really just talking about choice here and self-connection. But I can see once you get on the conveyor belt of reality, you're kind of off. And unless some catastrophic event happens or you really discipline yourself to go on retreats often, you don't necessarily get off the conveyor belt of the everyday, repetitive, habitual ways of being that we get into. So my world has stopped. My system is emptying out. I'm wrestling a little bit with this no definition of self, like not being defined by my work or my world or my reality, and actually getting more comfortable in the emptiness every day. I'm also just noticing how I can be more fully with pain and discomfort without, oh, I used to be able to go running or dancing or this, that, without comparing it, and actually being in a compassionate state of holding this current process. And when I reflect upon my bodily situation, I think I'm doing really, really well, to be honest. It's like the scars have healed. There's so much less pain than there was before. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit more energy every day. I've got more energy today than I had yesterday. Last 2 days, actually, I was just in bed and zoned out, couldn't do anything. And so I did the right thing, which was to rest and to sleep and just eat a little bit and have fluids and simple stuff. I wanted to share all this with you. I want to share this with you from an insider perspective of being in the experience as it's happening and giving words and voice to it. Because often what happens is we can wait 3, 4, 5 months down the line and reflect back upon it from over there when we've already gone through to the outcome, and then we're kind of reporting on what we think or remember was happening here. But I'd much rather report from what is happening here, live, unedited, as it is. Yeah. I've studied lots and lots of world religions and spiritual paths and healing processes. And what I notice is pretty much the norm is what you receive is the end product. So they give you the enlightened master's teachings, not the journey. They give you the magic formula, not the process that has arrived into understanding how this formula or code works. And I feel there's a different way to teach, share, and learn, which is from the reality of the inside out experience. That I'm a human being going through heart bypass surgery recovery right now. And I can describe it from my experience as it's happening. And maybe that has resonance for you in your life, whether you've had surgery, operations, or whether you're just in a tricky spot in your life. Maybe it could be relevant for you, what I'm sharing, is to how can I be absolutely authentic with it as it's happening. A lot of people, myself included, in some stages, go into regret. So, oh, did I have to have this? Regret, wishing it was otherwise. Then we can go into comparison, comparing it to how we were before or how we might wish to be in the future. These are all reactions of non-resistance, of resistance rather. So it's like they're resisting the reality of what is. And it's only actually when you embrace what is do you get the full information from here. And that is how I'm telling this to you now, from the inside information of what is currently presenting itself. And it invites us to be in a way of living which is not based on ideas or future constructs or expectations. It's really feel, respond. I am this, I express this. And that's what I consider authenticity to be, naturalness. It's not living up to a whole load of standards or performance or expectations. It's actually the living expression of what actually is happening in your reality in present time. So this is what my intent is in sharing this, which is good for me because it's like a journey of self-reflection, allows me to go a bit deeper. It's also good for me because it allows me to express myself, so I get to move a little bit of energy while sitting down and resting at the same time. Please comment if you like, ask questions. Are you curious about anything I say? Do you want me to address anything? Because I've got time now. I've got time, a couple of months, and I've got this new YouTube channel. Please subscribe, share it with your friends. I'd like to offer more on this channel and actually grow it, because I have a desire and wish to contribute more, yeah, because I want to, and I also feel it may be useful for others too. So in the description, I will pop a link to the donation page or PayPal, because it would be really useful to still receive some contributions for this period of time where I can't go out to work. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and I wish you the power to be with your own state of presence ever more fully, and embrace it, engage with it, be honest with it, and communicate from here. Yeah. Thank you very much from me, Guy.